Okay, Unit 4, Lesson 1, Part 2. Another operation that we can do with matrices is multiplying them. Now, in order to multiply two matrices, the first matrix has to have the same number of columns as the second has rows. And so an easy way to check for that, let's say matrix A is a 3 by 2, and matrix B is a 2 by 4. And I want to multiply these two matrices together. Quick way to check if I can multiply them together. If the inside is the same, so the inside dimensions, so the last number on the first and the first number on the second. So these are both 2. The inside dimensions are both 2. So they are the same. So we can multiply. And when we multiply them together, when we do, in this case, A times B, then we're going to get a new matrix. We'll call it matrix C. And the dimensions of my new matrix will be the outside dimensions. So my new matrix will be a 3 by 4. So it kind of gives you an idea of what your new matrix will look like. If the inside, the interior dimensions are not the same, then you cannot multiply. So think about B times A in this case. Looking at the dimensions of B, it's a 2 by 4, and the dimensions of A is a 3 by 2. The inside is not the same, so we cannot multiply. So we would say that this operation is undefined because we cannot do it. All right, so let's actually look at how we multiply matrices together. So let's say A So A is I have 1, 2, 3 rows and 1, 2 columns. So A is 3 by 2. And let's say B is, let's start off simple. Let's say B is just a 2 by 1. So I'm going to have 2 rows and 1 column. So I have 2 rows and 1 column. So I want to multiply my matrix A times my matrix B. If you notice, the inside dimensions are the same. This is a 2, this is a 2. So I'm going to multiply them together, and when I multiply them together, I should get a 3 by 1 matrix. So A times B. So the way we do this, I want to take the very first row and multiply it times the first column of B. In this case, B only has 1 column. And I'm going to multiply the corresponding pieces. The first number times the first number, and then the second number times the second number, and I'm going to add them together. So I'm going to get 3 times negative 1 plus 2 times 4. And that'll give me my first position in my new matrix. So first row, first column, so this number will be the first row in the first column. So now I'll go to the next row, and same thing, I'm going to multiply the first number times the first number, so 4 times negative 1 plus 0 times 4. And now the last, first number times first number, 5 times negative 1 plus negative 1 times 4. And remember, I'm supposed to have a 3 by 1, which I will. 3 rows, and this number will give me 1 column. So 3 times negative 1 plus 8 gives me positive 5. 4 times negative 1, 4 times negative 1 plus 0 times 4 gives me negative 4. 5 times negative 1 plus negative 1 times 4 gives me negative 9. Right? Yep. And so there is my new matrix, and it does have 3 rows and 1 column. All right, let's do one more. All right, so I want to multiply A times B. A has 2 rows and 3 columns, so A is a 2 by 3. And B has 3 rows and 2 columns, so B is a 3 by 2. The inside dimensions are the same, so I can multiply them together. And when I do multiply them together, I should have 2 rows and 2 columns. So I should get a 2 by 2 matrix when I'm done. So I'm going to take the first row and multiply it times all the numbers in the first column. So I'm going to do 3 times 2, 0 times 0, 5 times -1, and add all of those together. So 3 times 2 gives me 6, 0 times 0 is 0, and 5 times -1 is -5. So I'm going to have 6 plus 0 plus -5. And now I'm going to do that first row times the second column to get my next number. So I'm going to have 3 times -1 is -3. 0 times 0 is 0. And 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, so my first number came from the first row, first column. My second number comes from first row, second column. Now I'm going to move to the second row, and so I'm going to come down and start creating my second row in the new matrix. So I'm going to take the second row and do the same exact thing. Multiply each number times the first column to get my first number. So -1 times 2 gives me -2, plus 0 times 0 gives me 0, plus 4 times -1 gives me -4. And now I'm going to take that second row and multiply it times the second column to get my last number. -1 times -1 is +1, plus 0 times 0 gives me 0, plus 4 times 3 gives me 12. And now I'll add all of my numbers up. So 6 plus 0 plus -5 gives me +1. -3 plus 0 plus 15 gives me 12. -2 plus 0 plus -4 gives me -6. And 1 plus 0 plus 12 gives me 13. And so now I have 2 rows and 2 columns. So this is my new matrix. Notice again, if I do B times A, if I swap them, B is a 3 by 2 and A is a 2 by 3. So in this case, the inside dimensions are again the same, and so I could multiply this together. So why don't you try, good practice, multiply 3 by 2, B times A. Multiply this matrix times this matrix and see what you get. All right, if you have questions, of course, come ask. Have a